You know, a couple years ago, I got this thing. Presented to Kaylin at Ecstatic Self for passing 100,000 subscribers. Woo! You think that would be the pinnacle of your achievement as a social media influencer to get one of these things? You know, get one of the gold ones for a million subscribers. But for me, it was not a great thing. You see, I had been building a social media platform, YouTube channel, slowly and deliberately, slowly racking up a few extra hundred, a few extra thousand subscribers, video by video, people who were super engaged on the topics I wanted to talk about, namely learning to become myself, live more authentically, become who I wanted to be, find the merging of spirituality and sexuality, reclaiming my body as sacred, all this good stuff. But I posted a short that went super viral. It got over 100 million views in a very short period of time. And it derailed everything. I went from, I think, like 30,000 subscribers, maybe it was 70, to over 300,000 subscribers in a matter of days, weeks. And it blew everything to shit. Because before, people were coming because they liked my messages. Later, people were coming because they just wanted to see and not listen. And look, I realize my body is out there. It is fully out there. You can see every bit of it online. And I'm cool with that because I definitely believe there's this idea of you got to get people to listen somehow. Make them pause, make them look, and hopefully once they're looking, make them listen. But it drew in a whole other level of people wanting to subscribe to my channel who weren't interested in listening, just wanting to look. And so when I would post long form videos, which was my bread and butter back then, people didn't want to see that and they weren't engaging. And so it started to push the algorithm against me. Another kind of really difficult thing that happened was I started posting in 2020 during the pandemic. And that was a time where people were craving heartfelt, mindful, how do we make life better sort of content. So I was in the right place at the right time. But then things started to shift as we moved out of the pandemic, but also as YouTube started to change, because back in 2020, YouTube was still very much kind of like, post what you want, this is edgy. And it started to move more and more towards advertiser-friendly content. And by like 2023, 2024, the algorithm really changed, where if you were showing up talking about sex and embodiment, if you were showing up with not so much clothing on, as I like to do, you would get suppressed. And especially as that administration changed and things became even more cautious, it demoted my page further and further. And so you would think getting this would actually be like a hallmark moment. Congratulations. But actually for me, it was the beginning of my downfall, because now the algorithm was working against me. You know, when that short went viral, things started to change shortly thereafter, where before I was getting good traction on my shorts, suddenly it was a fraction of what it used to be. And then the same thing started happening with my live videos, where I would get a few hundred people watching my live streams, and then suddenly I'd be lucky for 2 dozen. And my long form videos, which used to get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, suddenly would be lucky if it got 3,000. And you know, I'm not an incredibly tech savvy person. I've never wanted to hide behind gimmicks and edits and animations, because I feel like what I have to share really is just about the value of my energy and the conversations that we have. And so I'd rather just sit and talk with you all. But even with that, when I tried to do more editing and visual stuff, it would take me a lot of time and invest the time and energy for it to constantly be blocked by an algorithm, which just felt immensely heartbreaking. And to have that level of success and virality happen for a short meant that my audience could no longer find me, because it was no longer being celebrated for the things I actually wanted to do and wanted to talk about. So it actually proved to be my undoing. And then as the algorithm switched further and further towards more conservative, more family-friendly views, which I mean, personally, as somebody who has no interaction with the youth of the world, I could give a crap about things needing to be family-friendly, but I get it. It's all about the money and feeling safe. My channel just continued to get further and further suppressed. And it became really disheartening, because over the course of my several years of posting on YouTube, I had not only reached a lot of people, but had so many meaningful interactions. There was a good multi-year stretch where I would get emails every single day from people saying, the things you're talking about embodiment and reclaiming your identity and coming home to yourself is changing me. It's making life meaningful to me. I felt like I was making a really big impact. And now I would constantly get emails from people saying, where are you? Are you no longer posting? I don't see you anymore. And at that point, I was still posting every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And so what is that like, to go from reaching your audience, speaking to them, doing the things that matter, to suddenly feeling voiceless? They talk about how fame is a fickle friend, that it doesn't stick around for long. And for me, with this YouTube platform, that definitely proved to be the case. It was amazing for a short period of time to feel like I could put myself out there and be heard and start conversations and have meaningful conversations in the comments and in DMs and emails. And then it started to feel like I was just shouting into a void. And it became heartbreaking. It became deeply heartbreaking to pour my time, heart, and energy into something and to feel like nothing was happening because of it. And so I stopped posting. I gave up something that I felt tremendously proud of. Like, I mean, if you used to watch my YouTube channel, this was hanging on the wall right behind me because I was so proud of feeling like I made an impact, like I achieved something meaningful. But now this just sits in here. It sits in a box and I never look at it because now it's not worth shit. I think what this has taught me most is the importance of connection. The importance of connection. It's not about how many followers you have, it's how much impact you're making. It's about the depth of engagement. How many lives are you touching? Now, I feel lucky that, my other platforms, whether it's Instagram or X or Blue Sky or Patreon or any of them, that I do get to still have meaningful impact and still talk to people and speak heart to heart. But I won't lie and say that I don't miss it. Because YouTube was a place where I got to have long talks, where we could sit down and chat for 20, 30 minutes and dive into something deep. And now I still make, content that I care about, but it's much briefer, it's much shorter. And I miss those heartfelt conversations. I miss being able to dive deep into those things. And so it's just so frustrating to be at a time where your audience isn't your own. In real life, we could sit down and those relationships will lead towards friendship and coming over for coffee and breathing together, holding each other. But online, it's just something that is ephemeral. Our relationships are ephemeral. We find somebody we engage with for a short period of time and then they drift back into the algorithm. We don't see them again. And that's what hurts most, is feeling like meaningful connections were created and then dissipated. So I don't know if any of this is meaningful to you, but if anything, I would just encourage you to take away that the goal is not to be viral. The goal is not to get to the point where you have however many hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. The goal is to touch people in their hearts, to feel like you made even a small difference for them in some meaningful way, and that it's created lasting change for them, because this world is a difficult place. But if we can feel like we make it even a modicum better for someone else, that we can lighten their load, brighten their eyes, make them feel seen or validated that they're not alone on their journey, I think that's tremendous. And so for the people whose hearts I did touch in that time, I am immensely grateful. And for the people who still engage with me, I'm immensely grateful. But it was a big deal. It was a big deal giving that up. And to ask for help, ask for clarification, being like, why is this happening for me? What could I do differently? And granted, yeah, I probably could have been a little less naked. Back then, no one seemed to care, but now it seems like much more so. But yeah, I could have done that differently. But it's a journey. It's a journey. And in this crazy time where people's attention spans are so brief, thank you for taking the minutes to listen and engage with me. And hopefully it inspires you that whatever's going on in your journey, what matters is the quality, not the quantity. So value the people. Value the people who you connect with and celebrate them. And thank you so much for your time today.